How high are you on a scale of 1 to 10?
There's no scale anymore. Listen, I'm over here eating a delicious butter rum muffin and drinking a glass of milk. All right.
Okay, you have a pastry with you. It's acceptable.
What's wrong with milk?
Is a muffin a pastry?
Drinking straight.
Yes, a muffin is a pastry, Chris.
I guess, yeah. Pastry
Chris,
is kind of a...
Chris, a muffin is by definition a pastry, Chris.
Listen, I feel like pastry is far too broad of a term.
It's not, though.
Oh,
It's a specific definition of a series of items.
It feels pretty broad. I don't know.
It feels that way because you are off your rocker high.
Off my rocker? I don't even have a rocker. What the is happening? Where the f are we?
Hello and welcome to Star Wars Every Week Forever, the podcast in which we watch one Star Wars movie every week forever. This week, The Force Awakens. Ben, how was your watch?
My watch was pretty good. My roommate refuses to refer to Kylo Ren by anything else other than Kyle Ren, and it's very apt.
Yeah.
He is kind of a Kyle.
So we spent, since he throws the first temper tantrum till the end of the movie, just riffing on Kyle Ren.
Is Kyle like the male version of Karen? Is that like the
kind
closest
of, but
equivalent?
it's more like the dude bro who's always drinking monsters and punching drywall.
That's accurate. Punching drywall is very specific.
No,
that's what the internet has deemed it.
We all know that guy.
I'm not saying we don't.
And his name is usually Kyle.
I do know at least two Kyles that I would not be surprised punch drywall. So, Chris,
Kyle feels like a big NFT guy.
Yeah.
Like, fuck those guys.
Yeah.
No, the Kyles I know aren't smart enough to be NFT guys.
No, I think they're just smart enough to be NFT guys.
Oh, you know what? You're right. It requires a fundamentally low level of intelligence, I guess.
Much
maybe.
like
I don't
all
know.
multi-level marketing schemes.
Chris, how was your watch?
That fucking sucked. I just... I've had such a hectic week, and during my brief moments of free time, the thought of having to watch Star Wars was just not good.
I am sorry.
Everyone's having a fun week this week.
I have more notes than usual, which does not usually equate to a good watch.
Oh, no.
The word I would describe this watch as would be dire, in that I was in dire straits.
Everything
with
okay
the knowledge that I had to watch Star Wars this week. And during it, I was not happy. It's not my worst watch this rotation, but it's in the top 3. I got re-mad about the red arm thing. That's where I'm at mentally. I got unreasonably angry about the red arm thing. That's where I'm at.
Do you want me to make you angrier for the red arm thing?
No, but do it anyway.
So, do you know why he has the red arm?
No.
A tentacle monster ripped
Fresh
it off.
cannon!
Fresh cannon!
Fresh cannon! What?
C-3PO goes on a mission with a bunch of other droids, and it's like a Saw movie, where all the droids are slowly getting picked off one by one on this mission, and eventually a tentacle monster just rips off C-3PO.
This sounds awesome. What are you talking about?
It sounds like something we would have pitched.
Yeah.
Well, because Jay famously complains about how many tentacle monsters are now in her Star Wars.
No, I haven't famously, like, I have only famously regurgitated the complaints that other people have had that there are too many tentacle monsters. I find this absolutely fucking cool as shit. Saw movie with C-3PO
Well,
is one of the captured.
They're on a mission to recover a First Order droid. And it's C-3PO, I forget if R2's there, and a bunch of other droids, and they're just slowly getting picked off on this hostile planet.
That sounds dope. I'm in. Why couldn't we read this comic or book rather than what we actually watched, which was The Force fucking Awakens?
I want to say it was a comic. Yeah, it was a comic.
God damn. Why didn't we read that?
I petition that from this moment on we just only call him Kyle of Ren.
Kyle of Ren?
Kyle of Ren.
Kyle of the planet Ren? That's some Spaceballs shit. I had a lot of complaints this week, and I have officially reached the point with the sequels where I'm ready to bitch about them like I do the rest of the movies, in good and in bad.
Okay.
This week, it's very bad. It's very bad this week. Like, there's gonna be like a cycle, like with all the other movies, but I also have reached the point we've expressed these movies are no longer new to us. I don't think. I think we finally reached a point where we're done like picking them and like this thing or that thing or First Observance. No, they're not new anymore. They're just another Star Wars movie in our endless parade of fucking Star Wars movies. So this is what it will be from now on. Just the most inane fucking complaints. And speaking of inane, here's one very inane thing that I obsessed over this watch. So on Jakku, when Rey is riding into the little working village, there's like a vulture that is sitting on top of a ruined speeder, just like smacking its beak into a random piece of scrap metal, a la like a woodpecker. So the detail I got cut up with this week was, what is the biological purpose of that very specific action that woodpecker vulture is taking?
Well,
it's a great point.
You see, the steel pecker, as it's known.
Oh God, this is not what I wanted. But go ahead, I guess.
Fresh
this is the fucking thing we're having.
Fresh cannon.
Fresh cannon's back.
Unexpected cannon.
Vengeance.
It is back with a vengeance. Why is there so much vengeance?
I feel like that's just Zack Snyder, the movie maker. Why is there so much vengeance?
They had beaks and talons that were tipped with iron? Excuse me?
Okay, biologically, how the fuck does that happen?
They're drones.
Birds are drones. Can we not do the birds are drones argument meme on the podcast? I don't want to.
Are we doing birds aren't real tonight?
They fed on metal. They're just matter eater, lad.
Holy shit.
To which they were drawn by magnetic signatures. What the fuck is happening?
Is this... So let me get this straight. This vulture woodpecker is actually not only a bird, but also somehow been made in a lab so that it has iron on the tip of its beak, but also is so attuned that it can keep... It is attracted a la a magnet to magnifying forces, a la like a drone, or like Magneto. To do what?
To digest the metal they consumed, steel peckers stored vanadium, a bunch of things I can't pronounce in their gizzard. That explains nothing. This explains nothing.
Lewis, are you okay?
Woo. I'm having a rough go with this conversation. My head hurts. Oh shit.
So what you're telling me is that this is fucking stupid.
Ben,
But
you
like
still
in a way
haven't
I
explained
didn't expect.
what the purpose of this thing is.
I gave you all
Who's
the
making
information
it
I
do
have.
this and why?
What mad scientist on Jakku, whether it be now, 20 years ago, or 5,000 years ago, decided to set the natural evolution of an entire species of vulture woodpecker to specifically eat scraps?
Okay, there's one detail. Well, no,
One
there's
detail?
a lot of details.
There's one detail
there's-
that's weird about
There's
this?
one thing that's throwing me for a real loop.
There's one thing
And
that's
Just
you
the
for a
one.
real loop?
Just
Just
the one.
thing?
there's one sentence that just says they were nocturnal. And the only time we
Why
see
is
this
that the thing
motherfucker
that bugs
is
you?
in the middle of the day.
No, it's not in the middle of the day. It's like in the early morning, I think.
Oh, it's a good point. Ben makes a good point in this
Also,
incredibly
apparently-
ridiculous conversation.
Also, apparently, scavengers would regularly salvage their carcasses in guano.
I mean, it makes sense. It has metal. The scavengers sell metal. Well, this was
Oh,
dreadful.
fuck. This was
Absolutely awful.
shockingly
Oh,
on
God.
topic
The
and
concept-
traumatic in equal
The
parts.
concept originated from a conversation between Abrams and Spielberg.
Fucking Steven Spielberg, man. Fucking Steven Spielberg. God damn you, Steven Spielberg.
This has been a wild conversation.
And this is the first thing we talked about.
Its diet legit came from
The
JJ.
episode where they talked about the vulture woodpecker
like,
metal
legit-
burger for an hour.
Legit, the
What's your
only
favorite
reason-
episode? The one they talked about the vulture woodpecker metal thing for an hour?
The only reason it eats metal is because JJ wanted an excuse for why it's pecking its head at metal.
See, See, now I'm gonna praise George Lucas, which
There's
is
that.
very not something I do on this
There's
podcast.
that wonderful J.J. Abrams writing I know from shows like Lost. Just, yeah, we did this because this, I guess.
George famously said, not so famously, it's famous to me because I've known about it for years because I was a nerd that played the special features on replay my entire fucking childhood. George Lucas had a... God, I sound like the fucking Twitter user, but I'll go with it anyway because what the fuck else are we going to talk about? George had a famous saying, which is, if you can't immediately make sense of what you're seeing in terms of world building or special effects, then you can't use the idea. And this thing makes no sense on first appearance.
George Lucas said this.
Yeah, well, here's the thing.
George Lucas, the man who gave Darth Vader a James Bond villain moment where he has a banquet, said this.
Well, he's talking about special effects. He's talking about biological
Yeah.
things. He's talking about weapons, things like that.
Weirdly,
Nobody said
I
he
get
makes a
what
good
Georgie Boy
story.
is saying.
George Lucas, who put a tentacle monster on the...
Listen,
on
and that's the
Death
one thing.
Star.
To get weirdly serious, we give old Georgie Boy a lot of shit. You can say everything you want about him being a horrible writer,
Mhm.
whatever you want.
We never said he could write a story.
Legitimately one of the biggest pioneers in CGI and special effects in general. I mean, like,
Yeah.
legitimately, you can't, it's
A whole industry
it's
learns
really-
from his mistakes.
it's really weirdly not talked about enough. I feel like how much he did for special effects.
I feel like it's still too soon, strangely. Like, when we were kids, they talked about the adaptation, like, the major push forwards in the 60s and the 70s. Like, we're only, like, 20 years out from, like, the first movie, like, 2 years over 20 years. So, we're getting to that point where a thing that was bad when it was released will probably be talked about for the advances it made, the ideas that were presented, etc., etc., etc. That said, the thing that I'm trying to illustrate here is I never looked at a thing in one of George's movies and said, I don't understand what purpose this thing serves. I always understood the purpose. It just might have been a stupid ass purpose. But on first vision, I understood it.
I have a counterpoint.
Yes.
The Dianoga on the Death Star.
That's not hard to figure out. A ship needs to get water somehow so they can get the trash that gets trapped in there. Like, I can buy that immediately.
Why did they need water in the trash, though?
Well, it's a ship. It's a ship. People have to drink water.
No, I know, but like, how has this thing survived? Is my point.
All right, you've made a great point. I don't really want to.
Like, does that also eat metal? Like,
maybe it just eats trash. I don't know, Ben.
Maybe it's just a filthy trash boy.
I'm the trash man.
Maybe it's like a goat. You can
feed
a goat anything.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt.
I assume you can feed a trash monster trash, let's say, you know.
My point being, I never questioned that. But every time I look at this woodpecker thing, every time I've been like, what is that doing? And because I've watched it so many times now, the why has gone from, why, to why? Because I watch Star Wars every week and I watch this movie every 9 weeks. Now, on the other end of things, from a similar point to the opposite point, a scene that I hated when I first saw it has now become my favorite scene in this entire movie, and that is the Rathtar scene.
I knew it. I knew we would get here.
It's so stupid. First of all, it starts out great because it's just Han Solo at Han Solo's best.
Yeah.
In the shit up to his eyeballs, trying to lie his way out of a situation right after he told Chewie that he's always talked himself out of every situation. And then the rest of it is just such JJisms of having a scene to do other not plot related like goals. The only reason why that scene exists is because he wanted to make an Indiana Jones spoof. And you know what? I appreciate it at this point. I really love it. The stupid stuff gets me through now, and this whole scene's stupid in a really delightful way.
Told you I love this stupid scene.
Now, what does it say about our mental states when we praise the Rathtar scene? Not good things. But it got me through the watch.
I love the Rathtar scene until the Rathars are actually involved.
That's fair. Like
that opening part where Han's talking to the fucking Guavian Death Gang. That's fucking great. That is 100% Han Solo. The running around from tentacle monsters, I'm a little less a fan of.
Yeah, but you see Harrison Ford sprinting at the age of 70. What's not
It's hilarious. About that? I'm not arguing it's hilarious, because it's perfection.
And then they make you think that Finn is just fucking dead for a minute.
I know I've brought this up before, or one of us has, but like, I love that the Rathars just inhale anything in their vicinity, but then Finn, they're like, nah, I'm gonna grab him and run that way for like 5 minutes.
See, this is what I love. It has become normalized to me in the same way that the diner has become normalized to me. It's just like, this is a thing that exists and you can't change it now, so it's just neat to have it here. It's a weird Star Warism. Is it bad? Yeah. Do I kind of love it? Also, yes.
I feel like you've loved that diner for a long time, though, Jay.
I love that diner, though. I'm here for the 50s diner in the center of the Star Wars galaxy.
When I was a kid, and even into my early 20s, I would obsessively find reasons to defend things I like when they are objectively really horrible. That diner was one of them. that diner was absolutely one of those things that I defended to death when it was not a hill to die on.
Yeah.
And most of the reasons is because I was very charmed by the actor that they decided to go with.
That's
and
fair.
Behind the scenes things. But now I kind of love the diner. It's one of my favorite scenes in Attack of the Clones, a very bad movie.
Kind of like The Force Awakens, similarly a bad movie.
Speaking of, I got pissed at this movie because of Rise of Skywalker again, and it's how well Finn and Poe get along in this movie.
Oh, I actually have something related to this. So we're watching, and we're at the beginning part where Finn's breaking Poe out, and
Freaking Poe out. We've done that a lot on the podcast.
It's been me every time, I think, because my mouth tries to talk faster than my brain lets it.
Now I'm just picturing Willem Dafoe there.
Willem Dafoe in Star Wars is really good.
Oh, I would kill for that. Oh, but I was
with the Green Goblin voice.
Who would he be though?
Come out to.
He would be replacing Poe. I mean, we've established this.
No, we got to give him a villain. It's Willem Dafoe.
That's why it's funnier if he's not. He's just supposed to be like the rugged pilot.
Okay, he's Poe Dameron, but he talks exactly like the Green Goblin. Or, better yet, the Lighthouse character. He talks like him in the Lighthouse.
I haven't seen that one.
Oh,
he can have specifically ad-libbed farts in Star Wars like he did in the Lighthouse. Yes, in the Lighthouse, Willem Dafoe decided to insert into the movie the fact that his character farts a lot. The Lighthouse is such a great film, y'all.
I've been wanting to see this movie for ages, and I have no more excuses.
Oh, there's many other things I could say that would make you want to watch it more, but just go watch the movie.
It's so good. Go watch it.
It just gets stranger from there.
A friend of the show that has never listened to the show, but a friend of the show has been trying to convince people in Ben's friend group to watch The Lighthouse for years, and he will be delighted that you watched it.
Oh, it's on Prime.
There you go.
Anyway,
Willem Dafoe Poe.
My roommate and I are watching this, and she's like, they just have such good chemistry, and I'm like, yeah. We've been complaining about this on the podcast.
It's like, yes, of course they have.
Since the inception.
It's like, of course they've got great chemistry. They love each other.
Yes.
And then we're about halfway through the movie, and they go, no, they got too much like best friend energy. I'm like, you're objectively wrong.
You are straight, and you are showing it. So speaking of Finn, I feel like every like trilogy has like a character that's like straight off limits for us to talk shit about, until like the last two rotations where we have just like torn into everybody.
Don't do this.
We gotta talk about Finn for a second here, gang. We gotta talk about Finn for a second here.
Finn. It's like my favorite fucking trilogy.
I love Carrie Fisher too. I love Natalie Portman too, and all of them got theirs. It's Finn's turn. It's Finn's time.
I feel like the only time I've made fun of Leia was the holiday special.
No, we did something like really recently with Leia. We got to talk about this because it really just struck me over the head.
I can't think of any grievances with Finn.
I don't know. He's never done anything wrong, like maybe tell an entire rebellion who just saw their whole home system get blown up by a super weapon that he knows how to destroy it, and under false pretenses bring the general's husband to to the base without knowing anything about it other than he swabbed some floors once.
But I mean, he's just trying to help.
He's trying to help one person. He's trying to help one person.
Okay, and consequently, he helps the galaxy.
Yes, by dumb luck.
It's like failing upwards
Yeah.
But on a scale of
my favorite
stopping
trope.
genocide.
Which is my favorite trope, which is heroes failing upwards. My favorite trope is heroes failing upwards. But that being said, I had to look at this movie this week and say, this was a really massively selfish thing for him to do.
That's like on the level of if.
And then his defense for doing that thing was, and like having a backup was him looking at Han Solo and saying, "Oh, it'll be fine. We'll use the Force."
I do love the full circle of Han having to tell somebody how the Force does and does not work.
It's a fun little scene, and I adore Finn. But at some point we had to address this.
He's so just happy to be doing a thing.
He's really
so
enthusiastic
excited.
about being
He's
there.
like, yeah, we'll kidnap my boss.
He is like very strangely thrilled that he managed to. It's almost smug when you think about it. Like, I tricked an entire room of rebellion heroes into believing that I know how to blow up a star system killer. I changed my mind. I can't be mad at him. He's a selfish prick, and I love him.
He's selfish prick and like almost to himbo. Because like he's not dumb. He's not dumb. But he plays it just right that like you get those vibes.
This is really funny to me.
Is Finn the Freddy of the group?
This is really funny to me now. Me just imagining the scenes that happen after where he's just grinning and he puts his boss down his shoe when Han seems not so thrilled with what's going on. And it's like the best day of his life, and he fucked over so many people to get It's so good. It's so good. It's so good. This is my new favorite discovery we've had. Just really letting sink in the fact that this asshole
has absolutely no idea what's going on. He just wants to save this one person.
No, I would challenge the fact that he doesn't know what's going on. He knows what's going on,
right.
in and of the fact that he doesn't know what's going on, and he convinces everyone around him all movie to think that he knows what's going on when he doesn't, and he's actively endangering their mission. But he's failing upwards, baby.
I also do love that he's also that character who is constantly trying to get out of a situation, but the situation just comes to him.
God. Chris and I are very strong believers in loving tropes of characters that are absolute assholes that fail upward to success. Every character we've ever played in D&D have been these characters. Finn is the best.
I think we've all had those characters.
I mean, every character Chris and I and our entire D&D group have ever played have just been hopeless at assholes failing upward. God. Yeah, I talked myself all the way around on this. Yes, it was a selfish, asshole-ish thing to do, and I love him for it.
Ben, you look like you're about to hop out of a tree and try to rob a carriage.
You do give off big Princess Diaries vibes today. His mustache has gotten long enough where he can curl it, and Chris has no place to say this either, because he also used to have the curly mustache.
I mean, look, my mustache is long enough to do that, but I have a full beard right now. Ben literally just has the twirly mustache.
I would have the beard
and
if it
the
were-
hair and everything too. Like it really does have strong highwayman energy. It's like you went to the
my
barber
hair
and
has
was
gotten
like
a little
highwayman.
poofy.
Just
We're all drinking water. This is the greatest fucking
hydration.
face turn in the history of the podcast, where we've all gone from drinking.
Always drinking water. I am drinking water 24. I get up, I wake up, I drink coffee first, and then water all day. I drink.
There's something so funny about you taking both hands and slapping the back of your hand into the fingers of another and going, I'm always drinking water.
I drink so much water.
So fucking hydrated.
So fucking hydrated right now.
Ben looks like he's trying to unsheath a sword from his back. What are you doing?
No, I was grabbing my Dr. Pepper.
All right, we were very on point for a while, and now it's
and then
gone
we
off
hydrated.
the rails. And then we hydrated. Can we talk about R2D2 for a second? Can we
I'd
talk about
love to.
R2D2 for a second? He's basically on life support all movie. Like, we talked about him just being in a depressive state, but the way that 3PO explains it, first of all, this movie essentially makes the worst joke out of all the sequels, I think, which is C-3PO looking at BB-8 and going, it would be very unlikely if he had the rest of the map inside of his rusty innards. And then at the end of the movie, he has the rest of the map inside of his rusty innards. It's like, I think J.J. Abrams sometimes, when he realizes that a plot point he's created is way too convenient, he will find a place, he will specifically go back and rewrite a scene to make fun of the fact that it's totally convoluted and stupid. And that's what this is. That being said, if R2-D2 is on life support in this movie, he essentially pulled a Padme here, and all this scene really needs is for a medical droid to come in and say, we don't understand it, but for some reason he has lost the will to live.
I don't know. I think that's more of a depressive, like, self-induced depressive, like, coma.
This movie really does
Like
have.
Padme.
Okay,
This movie
coma
really
and
does
death are
have kind of like a soap opera B plot going on. You know, like I'm sure we all had a grandmother who watched lots of daytime soap operas, and we
Sure.
watched them along with her as a way too young child. And
One of my most vivid memories of childhood is coming home in the middle of the day because I was sick, and my mom watching a Days of Our Lives episode where things got way too sexy.
yeah,
I don't know why, but it was
it was
like,
always way too sexy. But then like there was always someone's grandma was always in a coma or something on Days of Our Lives. It's like there's
Yeah.
always one character that's like in a coma.
I mean, to be fair,
as I remember it, because I remember the scene very vividly. It's a man and a woman, and this man is standing at the top of like one of those like warehouse lofts in like a New York style, and then
Yeah.
the woman inside is like approaching him, and there's like way too much leaking inside of this warehouse place, and I'm pretty sure she had just woken up from a coma.
I'm saying someone's
this
always
50
in a
First
coma.
Dates.
Ben, you can't make that joke. You haven't actually watched 50 First Dates.
Raising his arms like the champion over here. God.
Chris, what was your original point about this movie having a B plot that was just a daytime soap?
Oh, it was R2-D2's in a coma the whole time, and then by the
That's
end,
like an E plot.
by the time he springs out with this important information, it's like a fucking soap opera.
Like sands through the servos.
For like half this movie, we're sitting there, and Bree's like, "Oh, it's BB-8. Where's R2-D2 and C-3PO?" And then the whole Maz castle thing happens, and Bree's like, "Oh, it's C-3PO. Where's R2-D2? Ben, where's R2-D2?" Like, just levels of distress.
Where's R2-D2? Where's our? I know there was at least like 1,000 nerds that got really mad at The Force Awakens because there wasn't enough R2-D2. You know it.
Yeah, and I was one of them.
The first thing you thought when you left
so
the theater
mad.
was, where
So
was
mad.
R2-D2?
So mad.
I love BB-8.
BB-8's cool, I guess. I mean,
You want to talk about a
It's no
real
R2-D2.
motherfucker? That's R2-D2. I love him. No, I think my one problem the whole trilogy has as a whole is there's not enough 3PO and R2-D2. If I'm honest, and
Yeah.
the reason for that is very self-evident, and it's marketing. I thought I had way more notes than I did, but that was
Did you
actually
just run through them?
I just ran through them because I thought I had more than I had, and then I realized there was a lot of all caps yelling about Finn. But now that's pretty useless because I love him, and that was a fantastic series.
We got a live 6 weeks in the past rendition of Jay doing a total 180.
Total turnaround. 180. I love it. He's a shithead and I love it. Because he does that twice in this movie.
He does.
He really does. Finn's gut response to any situation where he's in trouble is just like, let me lie a lot.
Jesus Christ. I wanna talk about Never mind.
No, talk about it.
I can't. My brain just said no.
Then we have another 20 minutes of recording.
No, I know. I like legit don't know what it was.
Breaking news 6 weeks ago, Ben may have just had a stroke.
I just hit factory reset for a second. I was like, oh, wait, I have a point. And then my brain was like, no, you don't.
Watched his face blue screen.
Just a Windows shutdown noise. Dial-up noises.
Buddy, you doing all right over there?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm good.
I mean, I just popped back into this dimension for a second because you looked a little worse for wear over there. You doing all right?
No, I'm reading a Wikipedia page right now.
Well, why don't you help us get through this episode by telling us what Wikipedia page you're reading, Ben?
You're not going to be happy, Jay.
I know I'm not.
It's the midi-chlorian list.
Yes!
Well,
yes! Yes!
We can't go back to this.
Yes,
we
can,
can't
Jay.
go
Ben, don't listen to her. Why are you on the midi-chlorian list?
We can't do this again.
It's in my bookmark tabs.
Great
We
day.
can't do this again. Why did you go back to this page?
It's in my bookmarks.
Do you not clean out your... I shouldn't say that. I have so many uncleaned out
Oh,
bookmarks.
no, that's staying there. That's
Ben,
intentional.
Ben,
That's not a bug. That's a
midi-chlorian
feature.
count? What's Ray's midi-chlorian count?
Big fucking list.
We couldn't save it for like an Empire Strikes Back episode, so we could just call it the Midi-chlorian Strike Back. It has to be today. This is when we do it. We couldn't at least do it.
Why is this like half alphabetized? 27,800.
What's Anakin's?
Also 27,800.
But this is how you can tell it was all bullshit.
But it goes down to 26,830 after he loses his
We're
hand.
not talking about
And then
the
17,200 when he's in the suit.
We arguably talked about the hand too much.
Oh, wait, no. I read this wrong. So Okay.
Why are we doing this right now?
So
Am I high?
It goes down to... I don't understand how I'm supposed to read this. Am I having a stroke again?
Again? Ben? Ben, are you okay?
Are any of us okay?
Whoever wrote this just doesn't know how
Last week
how
we
reading
made the
works.
joke that this is the episode we show to our therapist. No, this is the episode we show to our therapist.
This is the one.
This is the
Something
one.
went wrong here. In here.
We're doing so good for so long.
Weirdly, I feel as though we've been strangely on topic for most of this episode.
Until the last 8 minutes,
Yeah, until like right now.
What are you talking about? We're talking about midi-chlorians and Rey and how that relates to Anakin.
Yeah, so Rey and Kylo are a dyad, yet Rey has more midi-chlorians.
What would the midi-chlorians have to do with the dyad part?
Because, like, you'd expect them to be equal, like, levels of power in the Force. Or at least potential. I know
Maybe it's like when
midi-chlorians
there's,
don't always directly...
Listen, maybe it's like when there's triplets and one of the kids eats the other kid in utero.
This is not a real thing, is it?
Maybe
Chris
they were like
is...
a trio of
This
in the
is not a
Force.
real thing, is it? It's not. It's definitely... You need to tell me psych
Never
right
heard about twins eating the other one in utero?
No, I haven't, Chris.
Absorbing the other, like
I
they
have.
No,
But
I
need
haven't.
to
I'm
know-
sorry for my chair, but I just sat up right. What?
I have. But
Jay,
Chris,
you've never
I need
heard
to
about
know...
this? What's
no,
up?
Chris, I've never heard about cannibalization in
They
the
taught me
womb.
this in school. It's a weird
Chris,
something I actually learned in my shitty public school.
Chris, you bring this up
What's up? bud?
as your wife is with child, and I am very
There's
worried
just the
right
one
now.
Listen, there's
Okay. I was very scared for a hot minute.
Are you
No, no,
gonna
just-
make me Google
Jay
triplets
is
eating in the womb?
furiously Googling.
Yeah, sometimes they absorb.
Okay, but that's so different. Yes, you're right. That does indeed sometimes happen, but you use the word eating each other.
I mean, it's kind of
Okay,
listen,
but like that happens with sharks.
spade a spade.
Yeah, but we're not talking about sharks. We're talking
not?
about human beings.
We could be talking about sharks. I would
No, we
much
can't.
rather
We're
be
doing a
talking about
Star-
sharks.
What
Hey,
is
let's
going
do Shark
on?
Week for Star Wars Everything Forever.
Sharknado
I'm-
every week
Can we
forever.
participate in Shark Week? That would actually be really funny.
There's another reality where we did Sharknado every week forever. Absolutely. We can't.
We make sure the episode that airs during Shark Week is a shark themed episode. The
I'm
cross being
distraught.
originated.
We were doing so well.
You broke
Discovery
Jay
Channel,
today.
don't sue us. Sorry about talking about Shark Week.
Doesn't Disney own Discovery?
Oh
Yeah.
shit. We're
All goes
fucked.
back to Disney.
This comes back to the mouse.
All goes back to Disney.
It all comes back to Disney.
Son of a bitch. No, I'm
Nope.
distraught.
I was telling my friends, like, so this week is the week that, anyone who doesn't know, 6 weeks in the past, Microsoft acquired Activision Blizzard.
Yeah, you did say this week.
So I made the joke that, like, you know what? Soon enough, every entertainment medium is gonna be owned by either Microsoft or Disney. And I said this as a joke, but I'm genuinely starting to get scared.
I've been in that mindset since like 2011.
But like jokingly.
It was not a bit for me, and it's not been a bit for me for the last 10 years. It's been legitimate. It's been very legitimate.
Because, like, we'll just be sitting there and someone will be like, yeah, I was watching this, and I'll be like, yep, that's owned by Disney.
I'm old enough to remember the day Disney, I mean old enough, but like I was nearly out of school the day that Disney bought Marvel. That's like a linchpin moment in my life. Like, I remember that day very well.
That's when it all started coming together.
That's when this whole thing started coming together.
Late stage capitalism, baby.
Just
If we're gonna say it's
just
gonna
a
be when
young-
they acquired Pixar, but
Just a young Chris, eyes widening, like, maybe capitalism does suck.
Chris's great leftist awakening.
the best thing I think about Harrison Ford being in modern Star Wars movies is him having to sit in the room as a bunch of CGI artists explain to him how CGI works and what he will have to do to work with this CGI.
Heck, he never had to deal with that in the OT.
He just walks into a blue room and it's just like, why is everything blue?
Why is everything blue? Tell me the Blue Man Group's not a part of this.
So these walls.
George, did you get the Blue Man? Is this another Jabba's Hut situation? Palace, whatever.
So, Harrison, Mr. the Ford.
So Harrison, what is with you and Mr. the?
Yo, I feel like nobody has ever addressed Harrison Ford as so Harrison. Probably not even his wife. His wife is like, "Excuse me, Harrison Ford. What would you like?"
Maybe that's why. That's the secret reason why that magician got kicked out of his house. Harrison.
Get the fuck out of my house.
Get the fuck out of my house.
Get the fuck out of my house.
They're like, yeah. So all these walls are gonna be like the interior of a ship, and he's like, nah, they're just blue. And they're
Blue.
like, I know, but listen, Harrison.
My head got pretty messed up in that crash, but I do know one thing when I see it, and that's the color blue is excess. This is an excess amount of the color blue.
It's like, you listen. That's a ship. Yeah, yes, Mr. Ford. It's gonna be a ship. That's just a blue wall there, kid. What are you talking?
Where are the edibles, and can I have some?
Just going to a producer, like, listen, find JJ. Something's very wrong with this man. Now bring me to my ship.
The way we did it back in the day was that we put curtains behind the Millennium Falcon, and about 17 people moved us around, jostling us as if we were in. I don't see any people. I hear a lot of sound. I'm scared.
This is all happening on the same day that J.J. Abrams has to explain to him that he has to sprint down a hallway, and JJ's just sweating. He's like, oh, fuck. Why'd they have to explain the CGI to him today?
I told them I want to convince him to run, and then we can get to the CGI.
They do this thing now where they will have like pre-rendered shit on the screen at the filming. So they'll put together a mock-up so that you can kind of see what the idea is. So I imagine Harrison Ford walking around to that area. It's like, Harrison, come take a look. Mr. Ford, come take a look at this.
Mr. the Ford.
Mr. the Ford, come take a look at this. He's like, is this some kind of ghost searching technology? Because this was not there. Was somebody behind me? I didn't see anyone behind. Oh, that's it. Do we have... JJ, I need you to pull aside for a second.
JJ.
There is one thing on this earth that I am actually afraid of, and it is magic and ghosts.
And the
JJ.
color blue.
And
Is your Harrison Ford just a little British?
I'm fighting so much gunk in my throat as I try to do this, Harrison. I'm afraid of two things in this life. Ghosts and magic. Which of these is happening right now?
Which of these is happening?
Oh god, no, I want a movie of Harrison Ford fighting ghosts.
Who you gonna call? Mr. the Ford?
Who are you gonna call? Harrison Ford, please.
It's just the Casper movie and Harrison Ford running out instead of the Ghostbusters. It's like, next time, who you gonna call? Not me.
Counterpoint. Harrison Ford in a live-action Luigi's Mansion movie.
It's not worse than Chris Pratt.
That'd be beautiful. I could die happy.
So we need Disney to buy DC Comics so that they do the DC Comics route of like fucking Elmer Fudd team up with Batman and just shit like that. Except we bring it to movies and it's just super serious Harrison Ford with Luigi in a Luigi's Mansion movie. Just like, I don't know what's going on here, Luigi, but I don't like it. Take it, but it's Luigi's Mansion. Harrison Ford is amusing. A Luigi's Mansion team up where Luigi teams with Liam Neeson from Taken because Liam Neeson's daughter was kidnapped by the ghosts in Luigi's Mansion is where it's really at.
Why are we now doing Freddy versus Jason levels of movie team ups? Just the worst fucking shit.
Is it the worst though? I don't think we've ever pitched anything that was legitimately good.
I'm sorry, I just pitched Harrison Ford as Luigi in a live-action Luigi's Mansion movie.
Why is that any different than Taken? But
look, if you don't want to be a millionaire, I can do this movie by myself. Right?
Are you big leaguing me? All right, Kevin Feige.
Now all I have to do is convince Nintendo to let me make this movie.
Apparently it won't take much based on recent events.
I have to convince Nintendo and then Harrison Ford.
Jesus Christ.
Oh God.
You're not going to convince Harrison Ford. You can convince Nintendo very easily, but not Harrison.
Mr. the Ford.
Mr. the Ford. Oh, you're those fucking nerds from the Star Wars Every Week Forever
Mr.
podcast.
Ford, I really enjoyed your sprinting in The Force Awakens. It really,
Would you like to...
It really made me very happy.
This is off the rails.
And then I thought, you know what else would make me really happy? Harrison Ford and Luigi.
I'm gonna cry, and I don't know if it's from laughing or legitimate sorrow.
Why not both?
That is the most all-encompassing summary of this podcast I have ever heard.
This is where we're at.
We're just harmonizing our size, you know?
So, on the topic of sharks.
You mean the thing we brought up 40 minutes ago? Chris is so excited.
I'm so fucking jazzed up to talk about sharks. I'm always ready to talk about sharks.
Are we gonna ignore the fact that canonically, essentially King Shark exists in Star Wars?
What?
Yeah.
What
And
the fuck are you
Chris,
talking about?
Chris should know what I'm talking about because it's from Clone Wars.
Chris is just like, you can't ask him to remember a thing when he's this level of high.
I have no idea what day it is right now.
I don't know what day it is right now.
Ben, don't wait for him to explain. You have to explain to get him.
I shared an article.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah, this one guy was a villain in a small Clone Wars arc.
He's not really King Shark, though.
Yeah, no.
He's a humanoid shark.
That doesn't mean it. So is he a street shark then? He's more
let me explain
street shark-esque
something to the
than
audience.
he is.
King Shark.
Are you too young to remember what street sharks are?
King Shark's a big dude. This guy looks like if Abe Sapien from Hellboy was a shark man instead of just a fish man.
He looks like the Rule 34 humanization of the Shark Tales villain.
Gross.
Yeah, I mean, am I
Super
wrong?
Gross. You're not, but super gross. Made me sad.
Yeah, this motherfucker was like the villain in a small Clone Wars arc where the CIS tried to conquer Mon Cala.
And I'll say this. I don't remember what his voice sounded like, but looking at him, I'll bet he was French.
It sounded like he was trying to do a bad Batman voice.
This is listen, Star Wars doesn't get like, Star Wars is not as bad as Star Trek because Star Trek has a legitimate X-Men crossover. Not one, multiple X-Men crossovers. So there's a book and there's a series of comics, and then they did something else later.
I love how weird comic books get.
Well, there's like a legitimate novel that I owned as a kid. That's just.
I remember seeing it in the library once. You remember those libraries?
Mm-hmm.
I remember seeing it at the library once. I was walking through and I saw the fucking cover to the Star Trek X-Men book.
It's one of the worst covers to any book
And I'm
that's ever
staring
existed.
at it.
I gotta share this.
What the fuck is happening?
I gotta share this. Ben's gotta see it. I'll
But
put it up on the
that-
podcast.
But even that
I'm
wasn't enough
scared.
for me to consume any kind of Star Trek content. I said, no thank you.
So this is legitimately one of the worst covers to any book that has ever existed, and I'm gonna have Ben explain it, because why the fuck not?
I've considered secretly watching Star Trek and then just
Pretending you never did.
occasionally popping out random Star Trek lore knowledge, like just random Star Trek trivia.
You should do it. That's a good bit. There it is. Ben, describe this cover for me.
I'm scared.
I want you to describe the cover of this book for me. It's an untagged.
Yeah, there it is.
You've shown me
There.
this one. So, okay.
Yeah, there it
what
is.
we have here is so I need to
I
find
own this book so
It's very
proudly as a kid. I did
I
a
need
book report on this
to
book.
find words. So in the
Man.
very back there's this like red planet.
Some deep
And
J
the
lore
whole
right there.
backdrop is in space. And then next to the
Space.
planet is like the bat symbol, but it's the X-Men symbol.
That's the most insulting thing I've
That's
ever
what
heard.
it's like a neon X-Men symbol. What do you? It's like the bat signal.
Commissioner
Thank
Gordon's
you.
like, listen, I need the X-Men for this one.
X-Men.
It's almost as insulting as that time where Marvel and DC this is what the episode is now, where Marvel and DC did a massive comic book crossover and they thought the best thing to do with Robin is to do a romance arc with Jubilee.
Well, that, and then when they decided to just combine a bunch of their heroes into
No,
one
that was
hero.
cool. I'll go to my grave saying that shit was cool.
So
Okay.
then we got Data just as straight-faced as a being can be, staring directly at the reader. And he's right there next
He looks
to...
like he's asking for help. He's like, get me the fuck out of here.
Get me the fuck out of this book
Data
cover.
looks like his parents are having a fight right in front of him. And he's just actively disassociating. And then next to him is the Wizard of Oz.
Jesus
And it's
fucking
like, so the Star Trek characters are like,
Yeah, you're about to get to the
over-
part that is most striking to me.
are oversaturated actual photos of Star Trek characters. And then you've got like Storm right next to Data, just looking like, Storm looks in a comic book.
But Wolverine looks so much worse because he looks straight out of a comic book, whereas it looks like they tried with Aurora.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Wolverine's just over here in fucking yellow spandex.
And then Worf is lifting out of a comic book rather than being realistic like the other.
And Worf's like, so like the sizes of these characters are all over the fucking place. So like, if Data is a normal sized person for reference, Storm or Aurora or whoever that is about right. And Wolverine's like 2 foot tall, and Worf's like half a foot. He's like an action figure sized motherfucker.
Because for some reason they decided to do full bodies for only Worf and Wolverine.
I mean, it's the crossover we've all been waiting for.
And Riker's standing there with just a glowing fucking Starfleet emblem.
If I didn't know better, I would tell you what they did, but I don't think this technology existed at the time. If you go into Photoshop, GIMP, whatever your choice of poison is, and right now pick the option that is to make something more like an image more artistic, which is just adding like a layer to something that like distorts it in a way that kind of looks like it may have been painted. That's what Riker and Data are. And then for some reason, Professor Xavier is just the Wizard of Oz. Like, I get it. In the cartoon,
like, that's
sometimes
supposed to be
like
Xavier?
that.
There's no way that's supposed to be Xavier. Why is his head shaped like that? Why does he look more like the Watcher than he does Xavier? Why is his fucking head so big?
They made his cranium like twice the size.
Does he have like bright blonde eyebrows?
I get in the animated series that he sometimes appeared like this, but not like this.
Professor Xavier just is going through a midlife crisis. Platinum blonde eyebrows.
Aurora
Bought
looks
a sports
like
car.
Aurora looks like Halle Berry, like X-Men Halle Berry, which I couldn't tell you when this was made, but like X-Men Halle Berry. And then Wolverine's just fucking Wolverine.
Yeah, Wolverine's just like in like this, like one of the stereotypical Wolverine with the claws out, like jumping at something position.
Well,
and
this is
Worf's just standing there with one of the
way
I forget the name.
The way they have Worf positioned, it looks like he and Wolverine just used the fastball special. Worf just threw.
I think that happens in the book.
No fucking way.
So the entire
my high brain just vomited that out, and that was the book.
In which we talk about the X-Men Star Trek crossover. So the story of the book. So in the comic that I've never read, I only had the novel. In the comic, the Star Trek characters go back to the Xavier's world time. In this, the Star Trek characters get propelled into Star Trek times, and the entire plot of it happenstantially. The entire plot is that they're dealing with a planet that's about to go to war because there is a segment of the population that are mutating outside of in like a similar but not the same kind of way. So there's a scene in the book where Worf is in the holodeck training, and Wolverine joins him in the holodeck to train because, Worf and Wolverine, that makes sense. It doesn't make sense, but since you've already crossed the bridge too far,
I was going to say,
that should.
At this point, that's like the most logical part of this.
And I'm pretty sure, I haven't read this since I did a book report in middle school. But I can't remember most of my childhood, but I can remember this very specifically. I can't remember most of my middle school, but I remember. What's that?
Please find that book report.
Oh, it's gone. It's gone, like most of the things I had in middle school. I believe Worf grabs Wolverine's arm because, Wolverine is supposed to be short and Worf is pretty tall, and just throws him at one of the monsters they're fighting. So it's not the fastball special, but it might as well be.
Jesus Christ. Worf's a full fucking, head and a half taller than him.
Can we just dedicate this podcast from now on to talking about really, really good and or really, really bad comic book tie-ins?
Crossovers and shit like that.
That's a new podcast idea.
Like the incredible Batman Predator crossover.
You want to know what that sounds like?
Greatest crossover of all time.
Yeah. Well, I would want to talk about Elmer Fudd meets Batman, which is legitimately the greatest crossover. This sounds like a great new podcast idea. You want to know what was not a good podcast idea? Star Wars Every Week Forever, which this has somehow been for the last 10 minutes. The one where they talk about the Star Trek X-Men crossover for a really long time.
And birds that eat metal.
And birds that eat
That's metal. The summary of this episode.
Yeah.
Somehow, this has been Star Wars Every Week Forever. I'm so done. I'm so sorry. Good night. Yo, we should do that podcast and just pretend we never made this promise.
And talk about the weird Punisher Batman crossover.
Yo,
it was Azrael Batman.
In the year 2000,
there was a Punisher.
But it was
Nightfall
Azrael
crossover?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the weirdest Punisher crossover because in like 2004 they did a crossover where Punisher just busts Eminem.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure
and leads them for dead on the frozen fucking river.
I'm pretty sure Batman and Punisher were both hunting down Jigsaw, if I remember correctly.
Is this a real thing?
This is a real thing. It was Azrael's.
Wow.
It was when Azrael was Batman.
This is such a better podcast than what we do.
Listen, I read a lot of crossovers, and like the What If comics have such a good it's good ammunition for this. There was the one where Wolverine became like king of the vampires.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Made everyone vampires, and it was Punisher and like a few vampire hunters. And
listen, since this is all definitely in the episode, it's time, DC. You need to give what the people what they want that you can now do, which is that Batman Winnie the Pooh crossover.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. What the fuck just happened?
I have no idea.
Hello, all you beautiful people, and thank you very much for joining us on yet another week of Star Wars Every Week Forever. We upload every Wednesday around noon on various platforms, including YouTube, Spotify, TuneIn, and many others. If you have any friends, companions, people you would like to torture with our presence, feel free to send them our way. You know where to find us. If you would like to interact with the show and the various co-hosts, you can find us quite easily on Twitter at SWEWF. We check there very regularly, so it's easy to get a hold of us. And I hope all of you wonderful people have a glorious rest of your day. Until next we meet, may the Force be with you.